take your seats. I think that's how much time? Okay, guys. We are here. This is a laboratory of cyber physical systems. Cyber physical systems. We call this laboratory this way because the core in our education, in our research programs, and all our projects is the application of physics, physical modeling, and mathematics in a solution of real engineering problems. And particularly this class is a class of digital design of complex systems. For example, what complex system is? It is, for example, aircraft. Aircraft consists of about million components, million parts. Okay. Automobile, for example, cars. They consist of about 100,000 of different parts and components. This type of thing. When you need to design a complex system, you really need not only model and understand how different components, how different processes work. For example, in automobile, you really need to take into consideration, for example, engine. Yeah. So efficiency of this, so distribution of power, different chemical and physical processes. But you really need to design a system, because when you design some of components, each of the components, when you put it together, it will never work. Okay, so there is a system. They have different rules of operational rules, different criteria of success, and it is really a complex problem. This is what we are teaching our students here in this class, and I would like to provide you a few examples what our students are really doing. Our classes are organized very intensive way. It was really big, mostly initially it was because initially our professors mostly were from the United States, from MIT. They were visiting us for maybe just a period of about 2 months. And during these 2 months, they conducted very intensive course for our students. And so our class schedule usually is 3 times a week, 3 hours each class. And during 2 months, the students are going through particular course of study. So just our quantum of our teaching curriculum is a 2 months program. This is a kind of magic number, 2 months. During 2 months, our students should do something very interesting and creative. This is our our building where you are now. Of course, now it is rendered picture, but in reality, you see now that we are in this building. It does exist now. Our core subject for teaching applications is digital twin. What is digital twin? I don't know just to what extent you are familiar with this thing. Digital twin is a digital representation of object what you are taking care of. For example, digital twin of a car is a 3D dimensional, for example, 3D representation of this car with all these components and so on. It can be physical and chemical processes there and so on and so forth. Digital twin is a system which really substitute real object. Real object, why you need to substitution of the real object? Yes, because of many reasons. And one of the reasons is you can do whatever you want with minimum cost and minimum efforts to modify, to change, to test digital copy of your real object. To do any experiments with anything, with, for example, with a chair. Okay, you really need to change, hand, for example, of the chair or leg or whatever. You really need to change it. it takes time and efforts to do that. And if you have digital twin of this chair, you can do whatever you want, change any shapes and so on and so forth. And of course, if you have a digital twin of your complex object, you can change different components and you can immediately see how this works, okay? And so this is our core of our subject, how to create digital twin of the complex object, okay? And here, for example, this is digital twin prototype for, for example, for aircraft, okay? Let's say this is one of our first assignments. What our students do, I told you before that our course of studies is 2 months. And during these 2 months, we give our students, and our students is a team, big group of students, for example, 25 people. And we give these students a task. And this task is not from textbooks. This task is from real life. And for example, this task was to design a cargo aircraft with particular, particular features, particular cargo loads and this type of thing. And to design it, to do all the analysis, structural analysis, aerodynamics analysis, and so on. All our team of 25 people is split on 6 or 7 groups, and each group has some particular assignment. And the whole team needs to come out with final design. You can see, one of the teams, for example, was doing design of production system as well, and visualization of this production system. Some group was doing optimization of production system. Most of the team members were doing analysis and design of some particular parts of this aircraft. This is another example of our student work. Again, this is 2 months assignment. During 2 months, people need to design this aircraft. And this aircraft is very interesting thing. Challenge was, this aircraft is supposed to fly at the altitude of about 20 kilometers. Do you know what altitude regular aircraft flying, commercial aircraft?
Up to 45,000.
I'm sorry?
Maximum 45,000.
45,000
feet.
feet.
Yeah,
45,000 feet is 10 kilometers.
Yeah, 10
Okay.
kilometers.
10 kilometers. This aircraft is supposed to fly at twice as high
Yeah.
in the stratosphere.
You
Okay.
right atmosphere.
Yeah, that's right. And it is supposed to be flying there for up to 6 months without landing. 6 months in the air without landing. Okay? Without landing. Right? Yeah. So to keep flying during 6 months in the air. Okay. Of course, how it can be done?
Solar power.
Solar power.
Solar power, but sun is shining during daytime and nighttime.
Orbit.
Huh?
Yes, to fly.
But gravitational pull is
Not orbit. So it is aircraft.
Okay.
Batteries.
Hydrogen.
Hydrogen, but you need to get hydrogen from somewhere. You cannot get
How's the
hydrogen for
wind
6 months.
elevator? How's the wind over there?
I'm sorry?
Is there some wind because I know the density?
Wind, no wind. At 20 kilometers altitude, there is no wind. It is tropopause.
Gravity.
Yeah, no, just this is combination of solar power and batteries, okay? And during, daytime, batteries are charging and solar power is sufficient to keep flying. And during nighttime, batteries are, you use batteries energy and so on. My point is, it is very complex system. It's very complex system. It flies at the altitude of 20 kilometers where there is a deep cold, very cold, okay? It's air is very rare, and this system needs to work as a system. It's very complex system. And so our students design structural design, energy components and system design, the whole controls, processes for all the different components of the system, everything. They model how this will take off, how it will fly, and this is just a comprehensive model of the whole system, the 1D model, where we can select different components and features of batteries, of solar arrays, of control systems for solar, for control system for heating of different parts of the system, because batteries, they work only in particular environment. Batteries cannot work with the temperature minus 100 C, for example. Yeah, this is possible.
So
Yes. Okay. Question?
the propellers are only used for takeoff and landing and...
No. Propeller use in the stratosphere as well. No, it is very light aircraft, and it is sufficient, to keep it flying in the stratosphere as well. Density of the air is just about, I think that 1/20 on the dose, but still it's sufficient to keep it in the air. Okay. This is another example of work of our students. Again, it is 2 months work assignment. This is very strange aircraft, you see. It is a truss-raised aircraft. And it was an idea, just a concept, which, I read in some magazine that this is a kind of interesting idea. And we asked our students to evaluate if this idea viable or it is nonsense. Okay? What can be done with using new components and new materials, and then if we design this aircraft with trusses, okay? And this was another example of structural design, aerodynamics. You can see there are a lot of different things. And for example, these wings are very long. They're made of composite materials, and they're very thin. Because they are very long and very thin, they can keep big aircraft in the air, and they have very low drag. Okay? But because wings are very long, you cannot put this aircraft into hangar, okay? And to make sure that you can maintain this, do maintenance with the aircraft, you need these wings to be folded, okay? And because of that, you really need to design folding mechanism. And so our students designed folding mechanism. They did design of this aircraft, okay? And this was pretty big work. But the outcome is that this aircraft with about the same number of passengers as Boeing 737, it can fly 12% more longer than 737, or save 12%. Fuel on the same distance. This is another example of design of our students as well. This is a UAV. I have here just this is UAV. The only thing with just detached wings. This as you can see, this is a motor. Okay, this is just this is the gears to get air. This is the camera, GPS, and everything else. Beauty of this UAV is that it is folded. You can fold it. Everything is folded, and it can be launched from the tube and fly for about 30 minutes. It is designed for, to be used by emergency situation. For example, you can find out what is going on. You have flood, okay? What is going on around? Where is the water is coming, or just where there is a threat? Or for example, forest fire, okay? Your team is dropped in somewhere just to fight the forest fire, and you really need to find out where is the front of fires coming from, okay? And you can launch this UAV. It will, for 30 minutes, it will be around, or you can see what is going on. and it comes back to you, you will recharge it and on again. So how this works? Again, it was big work, and you can see how this works. You know, it's a simulation of crosswinds. It's a pretty strong, you know, just machine. It's very interesting stuff. Behind you, you can see stand for testing. This is different parts of it. Testing, how this looks like. It just painted, but so it was this way. And yeah, it is fine, you know, right away. So it was launched usually by the hand. You can launch it either with your hand or with a tube, but it does work. This is all kind of simulation of aerodynamics and unfolding mechanism, everything else. So this is what our students do. Okay, so this is the conclusion of my presentation. Questions? You're welcome. Okay. You have probably some questions, no?
No, I'm learning.
Learning? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm captain at Flight 737.
737?
Yeah, check pilot.
Okay, that's great. So, if you make this aircraft, you can fly further or save a lot of money.
What's the benefit of flying it outside?
I'm sorry?
What's the advantage of flying it at that time? Is it working as a satellite?
On the 20 kilometers, we have not put it together. Because we are a university. What we can do is small aircraft and then this kind of small things. We have a workshop downstairs. We can put together different things, do some composite materials, but of course we cannot make aircraft right for you.
But 6 months is very long.
If you ask our management, you know, that we want to fly our aircraft, you know, nobody will say,
Yes, please. Yes, please give her a chance.
I'm sorry?
Give her a chance.
Okay.
But is it that this whole program, that program is designed to apply in the future, like in the private company, to create the real thing? From
Yes, of course, yeah. You know, for example, this is one of my favorite, you know, is the design this HAX, high altitude pseudo satellite, which is flying at 20 kilometers. They have such a great details of this design, they can put it together. You know, if there is some industrial company which can no, there is a lot of use for this aircraft. A lot of use. And for example, if this aircraft can fly for 6 months, you can see, so just in the air. It is altitude 20 kilometers only. With a pretty simple camera, you can get resolution 1 centimeter resolution. You can see your badge, for example, from the air. Yeah, from the air. So it is of course great benefit. And you can imagine that this aircraft can fly. By the way, it cannot be in the air for 6 months of the northern it can be on the south and the south. And for example, somewhere like southern border of Russia, for example, or you know, Middle East or somewhere, it can really fly for 6 months. And for 6 months, you can provide monitoring of a huge area. You can see everything what is going on there. Whatever you want, you can follow, for example, herd of lambs or deers, you see, or some people who are not really very good people, for example. You can see everything, okay? 24/7 during 6 months without interruption. And
You don't need humans to fly this thing.
no, it is UAV. It is unmanned, and it's controlled from the
I have a question. Now you have these satellites. So, what is more beneficial to have UAVs rather than satellites? I mean, how would you really, cost-wise, efficiency-wise?
what altitude satellites are for?
I know that, like, yeah,
Yeah, okay.
in orbit.
600 kilometers.
Yes.
Okay, the law is 600 kilometers.
Correct.
This is a 20. With a small camera, so the whole payload can be like 5 kilograms, for example. That's it. And
Cheap, very cheap.
cheap, very cheap, and not in a particular area. You see, because satellites are flying, you can so to make sure that they can revisit the same site, like for example, every other hour.
Yes.
Okay, you need about thousands of satellites. Okay, thousands. And here, there's one system that can fly about a particular area.
Completely revolution.
Yeah, that's many people are working on that. Just for example, I know some Japanese programs they're doing with Americans, they're doing similar thing. There is a Zephyr project at Airbus. Airbus is doing this as well. So it is really very, very interesting area.
What about India?
India, I do not know anything about so this work in India, but why not? By the way, in India, this aircraft would be very, very, very useful. Yeah, yes, but the point is it is a...
We already have enough surveillance.
No,
We
it
don't-
is close to the equator. It's a lot of sunshine, you see, so just it can really fly for 6 months.
The American people use this solar
Yes, yes. But it is company, it's called Air Environment. Air Environment, they're doing this similar project.
Your semester is only
I'm sorry?
semester.
Our semester is 2 months, but we have 4 courses. Four courses, one after another. This course is called Introduction to DLM. It is digital design, Introduction to digital design. Yeah, I will ask you. Yeah,
So how many courses the students take?
I'm sorry?
How many courses the students take?
In 2 months?
One.
Yeah, yes.
So when you make this, you will patent it and then you will sell it to the companies and the countries.
Yes.
And the students, when they make this, will they get any benefit when it's a good price in the market? How do you do this? When the students because they are the one and with the professor they manufacture this. So what is the share of profit that you get? I mean, I'm just talking, because it's not a factory or industry, it's a college. And you're making something so, I mean, it's the business viability and the requirement is so much. So just
Yeah, we teach our students how to do this hard work. Okay, so yes, we teach our students how to, our students, they of course learn how to do some aerodynamics analysis, how to do structural analysis, all this kind of thing. But it's not the most important thing, because we have only master, programs. Okay, we do not teach bachelor. Our students who are coming to us, they already know, for example, basics of design. They know CAD systems and this type of thing. We do not teach them that. But what we are teaching them, and they know that if they have challenging tasks, they know how to put together a team, how to divide the work in teams, how to put a problem which can be solved, what toolkits they need to use to make sure that they can solve this problem. Okay? And so they are leaders. They are leaders. They are not people who are doing some, small calculations and this type of thing. They are leaders. They are people who can solve difficult problems in design of and the manufacturing of complex products.
Exactly the question. What if the idea or the product that they use is commercial? Who will take, how much they will take from this commercial?
just give it to the government.
This is a kind of question outside of our course, because we are engineering, we are center for engineering. Yeah, we can offer this to the government. If government is interested, we can, of course, help. But again, we are university. We have small team. Just for example, Boeing. How many people work on Boeing? Hundreds of thousands. So, and all these people, they are working. They are not just staying idle. They are just working hard. just because to make really this big thing, you really need to have a big team. But our people, our students, our graduates, they know how to put together this team and what needs to be done to do this good culture.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about, for example, this prototype. How many people were in the team, and for bigger projects, how are the teams organized? How does it work? Do you have somebody?
In the design, I said we have about, you see it here, this is our block. We have about 20 places to work. You know, each team member has their own display, computer, and so on. So we have only 20 places here. Now our normal group is about 20, 25 people. For prototyping, we have smaller team, usually about 10 people. So this prototyping was done with 10 people, but it took more time. It's so just about, I think, about 6 months work, including testing and so on. This was they just disassembly. We were not prepared for your particular design. It looks very nice. You see, so with wings, with the tail, with everything is foldable. It's very, very unusual design. Yeah, it can be launched from the tube. It is in container. Why it is this particular size? You can put it in your backpack, you see, and use wherever you want.
Professor, can you introduce yourself? Your name?
Myself? Yeah, my name is Igor Yuzhinsky. I'm full professor at this Skoltech. It's a Center for Design, Manufacturing and Materials. I really was working for about 25 years in the United States. And 21 years I was working for a major aerospace company. It's called Orbital ATK by the end of its story. Now it's part of Northrop Grumman. I was involved in design of a number of interesting systems. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay.
May I pose this a question?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, yeah. My name is Hans, I come from Switzerland. I'm not in the technical when I'm a medical doctor, but I wonder if you have excellent ideas. Maybe I didn't get all you explained so far, but are you following the free market in selling your ideas, or do you have obligations? It's like, are you allowed to talk about it? Do you have companies you work with from all countries of the world? Like we have our pilot from India, you talk to someone from Japan, you talk to someone from Oman, you're talking to some. So this, I assume that everybody would be interested in knowing if you're working together with their countries. I know you have students from all countries.
Yeah, first of all, we do have students from different countries. And the point is, I really came back from the States 3 years ago. My mission was to establish this course of studies, how to teach our engineers how to design and build, complex products. And so, just what this particular assignments and particular task, what our students were solving here, really just from my experience. Okay. During my work in the States, I was in different kind of roles, and a significant part of my career there was business development. I was director of business development for launch systems, space launch systems. Okay, so I know how to deal with business, how to deal with companies, how to create business, but this is not my mission here. For these 3 years, my mission was to teach students how to do good engineering. Okay, our really mission of Skoltech is really to implement the best technologies in real life, to create startups, to create new companies, to do something really very good and incredible in the world. So I hope that our students whom we taught already and whom we are teaching now they will be leaders, and they will bring it to business, to different companies, and so on and so forth. So we are in the process of establishing foundation of this thing, you see, right now. But we of course would be very glad to work with governments or businesses or whatever, And we have young and great people who are really eager to do that.
So I'm from Fiji, and I see a lot of hope in what you have presented because hope and maybe a possibility perhaps you could encourage your students to come up with something in something in digital that can save our island home from sinking due to climate change, sea level rise, and people like Trump can believe that real climate change is real, because we are part of our islands are going, disappearing every day, and we may be gone from the planet, from the map. So perhaps these kind of technologies, I see hope here that is.
One of my PhD students, Katerina. Yeah, this is great. I really just know that this is extremely important thing. And one of my PhD students, she is doing very interesting thing. One of the reasons why we have climate change and global warming is a release of CO2. So carbon dioxide, from all kind of combustion processes. We cannot live without energy anymore. We need power stations, we need our cars, and so on and so forth. But the most significant, contribution to CO2 release are power stations, because you can imagine, regular, so just average power station releases 100 ton per hour of CO2 in the air. 100 tons per hour, okay? All these power stations across the world, they release 100 ton per hour of this material, okay? And this is what my PhD students is doing now. CO2 is a gas, okay? What to do with this gas? And we designed a special technology, and this technology is based on kind of rocket processes, and we can get exhaust from power station, and we can solidify CO2 right from this, from this exhaust. Just it is kind of, snow of CO2. You can separate it, and you can use wherever you want. You can put it underwater, because CO2 is dissolved in the water. You can use it for stimulation of oil wells, for example. There are plenty of applications. But we know how to separate this CO2. It will be zero release of CO2 from this, from this power station. This is one of the things. It's based on the same similar physics and modeling and this type of thing. We modeled this process where, exhaust of, this from power stations will have zero CO2 release in the atmosphere, for example. So maybe it will help your island. Okay. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.